NXT Great American Bash 2023 predictions. Get your warm apple pie at the ready. It's going to be a fun time with 6 matches to discuss here today, including a kickoff match as well, which will be a total of 7 actually there for you. I've got a very special guest that will be joining me as well. But first off, before we do that, let's go through the match card of what we'll be discussing. So I think we can agree a stacked looking NXT show for you there. The NXT Championship, we've got the Women's Championship. We've got a couple of stipulation matches as well there. The Women's Championship being a submission match as well as that. We've got Weapons Wild throughout the evening as well. And who could forget, Dirty Dominik Mysterio, the North American champion, is going to be featured on this show as well. He'll be the second match we'll be talking about on the stream here today. But before we do any of that, I've got a very special guest joining me on the stream today. In fact, the first time on a live stream, although he's no stranger to the channel. He does some fantastic content on his own channel, doing predictions, doing reviews, doing retro content as well. And to be fair, I mean, he fits the bio of what we're looking for today. He's great. He's American. He's the Juggernaut 097. Justin, welcome to SCW. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Steve. Thank you for bringing me on here today. And I love the intro you just gave me. That was awesome. That was great there. But yes, I am Juggernaut 097, aka Justin. I have my own wrestling channel. I do a lot of wrestling content there, like you just said. I do a lot of predictions. I do reviews. I do retro reviews. I even do reactions. I've been starting to do reactions. So if you guys, want to see reactions on my channel, see, a whole bunch of wrestling on my channel, definitely go subscribe. Got a lot of wrestling content coming. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a watch along for the best of SummerSlam. So I got a wheel that we'll be spinning. And we're going to be watching a whole bunch of SummerSlam matches. So if you want to come by, watch some SummerSlam matches with me. But yeah,
absolutely. I recommend people do that indeed. And what I'm going to do is, because I've not had time before the video, but people at the end of the video, it will be pinned Justin's channel as a top comment. So all you have to do is then go on, especially if you're watching on delay, just click on that top comment there, click on Justin's channel. You can subscribe immediately and you can make sure to check out that amazing content. Like I say, I've been quite a viewer of your content for quite a while. It is great to have you on board. And I've got to say, it's not just great to have you on board, Justin. It's great to have our viewers on board as well. And quite a few people in the chat already making some noise, making themselves be heard just the way we like it here on these live streams. Start off with Ed Frazer says this card is good. There's a few matches that don't need to be PLE level, but it's going to be a good time. And do you know what? I think it could be a very good time indeed. And speaking of Ed there, his channel, Our Local Establishment, myself, I'll be a guest on his channel this Saturday. That's right, with Astrid Bizarro. We'll be talking about NXT predictions over there as well. That'll be 7:30 p.m. UK time, which means, of course, that means for Eastern time, that'll be 2:30 p.m. WWE Remakes in the house says, are you excited for NXT Great American Bash? What a cue to give that question in, because Justin, what are the excitement levels then for the Bash? Are you a 1? Are you a 10? Are you somewhere in the middle?
I'll say I'm more like I'll say an 8. That's what I'll say. Like, I'm really looking forward to the main event between Ilja Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes. That's going to be a banger. I'm looking forward to Dominik Mysterio in the triple threat match. That's going to be a fun match for the North American Championship. I mean, it's going to be like, we got 7 matches on the card, a short, sweet card. I think it's going to be good. And also, I love that they're leaving I like that they're going outside of Florida. I always like when they do that. They're going to Texas. So that's going to be pretty cool. Texas, they always have good crowds. So I think I'm excited for the show.
Absolutely. Everything's always bigger in Texas, as they say. And like you say, it's a good ground for the Great American Bash. A lot of history, obviously, in Texas with wrestling shows, of course. But yeah, for me, I would say excitement levels. I'm excited for the show. I'm going to go for, I think, around you, near where you are. You said an 8. I think I'll go for a 7 myself. And like you said, it's a good trimmed card there. There's some great talent involved on this show. And there should be some exciting matches as well. And looking forward to digging into the bones, should we say, in the next couple of minutes, starting with the kickoff match. We've got Bear back, audits in-house. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking us out once again, and feel free to get involved with your predictions in the show as well. As long with Eric Douglas, it says, Roxanne attacking Blair Davenport at the convenience store was funny AF, and we know what the AF stands for there. Before we dive in, because obviously we'll talk more in detail probably about this later on, but that was a side of Roxanne Perez we've certainly not seen before.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I thought that was actually pretty cool, seeing like that, kind of footage at the convenience store, with her being a Blair Davenport, I thought it was cool. Like, I'm a big fan of both women. Big fan of Blair Davenport. Especially I loved her indie stuff that she used to do in New Japan, and what was it? There was this another promotion that she was in the UK as well. I can't remember what it's called.
Rev Pro, maybe.
I think she was part of Red Pro. Yeah, that's the company I was thinking of. But yeah, I like what Blair Davenport's been doing and stuff. I like that she's came over to NXT. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good segment. I enjoyed that.
Absolutely. I think for me, it was just, it was something that was a bit different. Obviously, you get the flashbacks to Steve Austin and Booker T back in like the old days as well. And of course, I give a bit of a shout out to Denise Salcedo with that post she put on. If she doesn't remember, if you don't remember that segment, she's too young for you, bro. Yeah, of course, going all the way back to 2001 with that glorious moment there. And Ed Fry's actually bringing up there, was this only done to redo the Booker and Stone Cold? The difference with that, though, I always felt with the Stone Cold and Booker, it was definitely like light relief and comedy. This felt like it was a lot more of a serious aspect. We've got like a real change of a game-changing character coming out of Roxanne Perez there, because I mean she was someone that's been seen as squeaky clean, clean baby face, and obviously she's gone through the anxiety stuff, but now she's bringing out a different side of her. Now I think it was actually Carrying Crosses. She posted something recently on Instagram, said like the nice people, like there's a lot of niceness in there, but obviously when you see the other side of people, that side's being held in. Obviously it feels like if you look from a character perspective, that's kind of what we're getting from Roxanne here.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with that. I like the more aggressive side coming out of her. And I like that they're kind of shying away from like her anxiety stuff, because well, yeah, I mean, like I want to see some like different layers to her, which I want to see her more aggressive. I don't need to see her so nice. I want to see her more, have a mean streak about her, like ruthless aggression.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I'm actually okay with the anxiety way of things, but for me, she's been losing matches recently, so that's where I kind of find the disconnect. I want to see her be that role model that people connect to, but maybe it's a long-term story. Maybe it is going overcoming defeats and actually get herself to the top. And obviously, people will say, "Look, we all have our struggles, and that's the way we find we get through them, and then we actually." We make way through, and that's kind of what's quite exciting with it. Baking though, actually speaking about the Booker T Stone Cold segment, Ed Fry says Roxanne was 1 month old when that segment happened. She remembers it well. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that just goes to show how old we are, unfortunately. And that's something I don't really want to think about it. He's gone on to mention as well, Rev Pro, WCPW, Progress, all of them basically featured Blair Davenport, of course, was actually B. Priestley, of course, back in those days. We got Wesley in the house as well in Bakersfield, California. Wesley, thank you for checking that stream. Hope you are keeping well. And absolutely, yes, another thanks as well to Denise South. Said, I'm not sure, though, if she's seen us saying thank you, but if you are watching, almost like thank you, Trish. Thank you, Denise, out there. But we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get straight in then with our first match here today. So let's hope that the graphics are kind to me. We're going straight for the kickoff then of this show, which happens to be a 8-person mixed tag team match. We've got Nathan Frazer, Dragon Lee, Yulisa Leon, and Valentina Perez going against the Metaphor. Of course, this is kind of a feud that's more based around the Heritage Cup, if we're being honest here. Of course, Nathan Frazer winning the Heritage Cup, obviously from Ora Mensa a few weeks ago when of course Supernova was unable to compete. And since then, Supernova, of course, losing the Heritage Cup, and he was the longest reigning Heritage Cup holder as well. It's been a bit of a trance, actually. It's actually, to be fair, I've said it quite openly on the channel previously. I've not always found the connection to Noam Dar watching him on screen, but I must admit, watching him play this character, I found quite mildly. I've actually found it quite entertaining watching him each and every week. The fact that he's just been that depressed sitting in the chair. Not that I want to see anyone depressed, by the way. It's a very big change, by the way. Just been talking about Roxanne Perez, and now we're talking about someone that's been a bit depressed here. But at the same time, you look at it and you think with Noam Dar, he's shown a lot of layers to his character work and something that I've actually quite enjoyed seeing. What have you felt with the build here with this mixed 8-person tag team encounter?
I thought the build's been okay. Hasn't been anything spectacular, but like I kind of like the points that you were saying. Like this different side to Noam Dar, and I like how they have this faction, the metaphor. I like this faction. I think it's pretty cool. It gets the people that aren't being used a lot. I kind of wish Oro Mensa was kind of off by doing his own thing a little bit, because I think he's a great singles competitor. I wish they never really got rid of his tag team partner, but that's there for like another video someday. But yeah, I really been enjoying it though. It's been really fun. I'm really torn on who's gonna win this match though.
I
Hmm.
kind of feel like you as well, though, with that. The prediction doesn't seem as straightforward because obviously, with a lot of matches, when it comes to this show, you imagine that going to be where the feud would close. Here, it's all about the fact that Noam this week has now come out of the chair. He's almost come back to life because there's now the counterfeit Heritage Cup. It's the two championships, but this time it's the two Heritage Cups, and obviously Noam now is back to fighting form once again. But like you say, the match ultimately is going to be Noam Dar versus Nathan Frazer because Nathan Frazer didn't beat Noam to win that Heritage Cup. So does the advantage here go to the baby faces to just win over Metaphor on this occasion, or does the heels get the heat before we get to the Heritage Cup showdown?
I think definitely the heels should win this match here. I think the Metaphor should win. Could like to build that feud with Noam Dar and Nathan Frazer more. So I say
Mm.
give the heels to win here. Yeah, give the Metaphor a win,
I
and
think
maybe
it makes more sense.
I'd maybe give like maybe have like one of the girls get pinned. I wouldn't say pin I wouldn't say pin Nathan Frazer or Dragon Lee. I'll say one of the girls get pinned in the match.
I think that makes the most sense as well. They like to do that. Obviously, like Perez or Leon, they haven't really done so much for me watching NXT. Like you see them sporadically in places, they've kind of found their way into this storyline, which is great for them. They've got a big opportunity here on a PLE, which is fantastic for them. But for one of them to take the pinfall, it's not going to harm them too much. I agree with you. You can't afford Dragon Lee to take another. I mean, to take another loss in general in NXT is not really the right thing for me, in my opinion, at this time. Nathan Frazer is the Heritage Cup holder. It would make a massive statement, I suppose, if Noam Dar could pin Frazer in this match. But I'm with you. I think that it makes more sense to protect some of the bigger names if you want in this match for what is the long-term goal. If it was the ladies at the Heritage Cup, for example, then I would say do the opposite. But for me here, like you said, it makes more sense here for someone like a Lash Legend to pick up the pinfall and pick up the victory for the team. So I'm going with you. I'm going for the heels to win. Well, I'll tell you what, in the meantime, then we're going to go into the comment section. And Ed Fry's here with a very good point, by the way. Says this match is step 2 in a long-term feud, ending with what I think will maybe be the first freeway British rules match for the Heritage Cup. I like the sound of that freeway. Ed, you might have to specify, would Dragon Lee be involved with that? Or is that going to be Ora Mensah that's going to take the third spot? Because obviously Mensah is a part of the group. You would imagine he wouldn't want to be going against Dar at this point. So I'd like to know his thoughts on that. But would you like to see a freeway British rules match? How do you reckon that would work out? Would you reckon it could work in the structure of that?
I would love to see a 4-way. Have all 4 guys involved in the match. I think that'd be pretty cool. But it'd be kind of weird with like the rules. Because like you have these like different time limit because like they go 6 rounds, and then it's like 2 out of 3 falls. So I think that it would kind of be different. The way the rules are. It would be cool.
Rounds.
What's that?
They'll have to add some rounds, maybe, especially if there's 4 of them in there. Could you imagine that? Like, a fall's been given like 3 times, like in each round, and all of a sudden you've got like 2 rounds left. Obviously, someone has picked up a fall, and that it would be. I imagine it would be a much shorter version of the match, but certainly I think the concept would be quite interesting. Ed does specify that Dragon Lee would be that person, which would imply to me, Ed, tell me if I'm wrong, that perhaps maybe it would make sense in your mind for the baby faces to go over and Dragon Lee to be the one to pick up the pinfall and perhaps maybe have a bit of a stare down at that Heritage Cup. Would that be something that you'd be interested in?
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Dragon League get involved in this. I think he kind of needs something. To get like some type of title. I don't. He's not going to be winning that North American Championship soon, anytime soon, or the NXT Championship. So I mean, not North American. The Heritage Cup wouldn't be too bad around him, but I just don't really think that they're going to go with that. To be honest, I think it's between Nathan. I think it's between Nathan and Noam Dar.
I could see that for the time being, but certainly Dragon Lee could be a contender in the future. But never say never when it comes to NXT. Certainly anything could go down. And Ed just says, I might be leaning that way with a cheeky wink, teasing us once again, Mr. Fries. We know exactly what you're playing at there. C Nation here comes and says the Metaphor will win, so that sets up Noam Dar versus Nathan Frazer. But Nathan Frazer should retain the NXT Heritage Cup. Noam Dar has been the NXT Heritage Cup in picture since 2021. Change things up. I think that's a good point there from C Nation. Changing things up certainly feels like the right move, in my opinion. Would you agree with CD?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do agree with C Nation Dog. I definitely agree with him on that. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Eric here says supposedly AEW tried hard to get Roxanne before she came to NXT. Interesting. Didn't know that information. Eric, thank you for sharing. C Nation goes on to say that the family are winning the NXT Tag Team Championships. Who else can beat Gallus. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll have to wait and see what our predictions will be. That will be match 5 of the stream. So we'll hold off our judgment for now, but certainly good to get your prediction in nice and early. And the last comment then before we move on then to the main show, CD says, I could see them doing the first ever NXT Heritage Cup triple threat as well. So he sees the same as Ed there, potentially that triple threat. We'll have to wait and see if that would go down. Certainly would be fascinating to see. But we're going for the heels, basically. We're going for the metaphor as our prediction there. And well, in the meantime, we'll move on then to what will be the first match of the main card. And I'll tell you what, let's get a bit dirty, shall we? It's the triple threat match, of course, for the NXT North American Championship. Dirty Dominik Mysterio will be taking on Wesley, the former champion, and Mustafa Ali. Of course, Rhea Ripley looks like she will be in the corner there as well, featured in the graphic. And just to go through a bit of the detail, of course, Wesley was, well, on his way to becoming one of the longest reigning NXT North American champions. Over 280 days he held that championship. And he said during that time, it was basically a land of opportunity. Many open challenges, many great opportunities, 4 ways, 5 ways. Wesley would take them all on and he would usually come out on top. It's just a shame for me on a random episode of NXT he did lose the championship to of course Dominik Mysterio, but at the same time I do think that it's one of the best moves WWE have made in quite a while. Mustafa Ali probably would not agree with me. He had the one-on-one match set for the Great American Match before Dom had actually won the title, so it sets up the triple threat match quite nicely, with Rhea Ripley accepting the match on Dominik's behalf. Friction with the Judgment Day, or perhaps not? We'll have to wait and see. Time will tell, because after all, Dirty Dom does seem to pretty much go with what Rhea suggests, and usually what Rhea says does come through. Of course, Dominik has retained so far the North American Championship on SmackDown against Butch and Sami Zayn on Raw. So before we go into any predictions of any sorts, first off, I want to talk about Dirty Dom. I want to talk about that North American Championship title win a couple of weeks ago. What are your thoughts? For me, I thought it was a stroke of genius. I really like that WWE did it. Are you in the same camp as I am?
I am in the same camp as you. Yeah, I'm happy they gave the championship to Dirty Dominik Mysterio. Like, to be honest, they should have started Dom back out in NXT, right out the gate, instead of putting him all the way up to the main roster when he first started in WWE. But I'm happy that they're doing this now. He's getting so much heat on him. I've been really enjoying it. Like, he can't get a word out. The fans are always booing him. I mean, they love seeing Mommy out there. They love seeing Rhea, and Rhea's always on top. I just love this whole dynamic between Rhea and Dominic. It's chef's kiss. It's amazing. I've been enjoying it. And also, Wesley has held that title, North American Championship, for 269 days. So yeah, he was the longest reigning North American champion, which is
I like
cool.
it. I like when facts come into these streams, especially if they're not on the top of my head when I need them. So I appreciate that a lot, Justin. But yeah, like you said there, I mean, obviously for Dominik and Rhea, the combination between them, it's very obviously Eddie Guerrero and China of the modern day. The way that they're trying to go with it, obviously, you can see as well the mannerisms that really there's a lot of I feel like heel Eddie Guerrero, especially from the WCW days, that I feel that Dominik is trying to channel into, and it's working to a treat. Dominik has been one of the most hated people since joining the Judgment Day, since turning on Rey Mysterio at Clash of the Castle last year. And I've got to say that when you look at championships right now in WWE, I know the draft doesn't mean as much as it used to, and this supports that. Unfortunately, I'm someone that likes to see people stay where they're meant to be. But if you look at the mid-card title, Dominik is doing perfect here. He's getting the reactions that WWE wants him to get, which is boos. Like you said, he can't get any words out. And obviously then that means people want to see him get beat. Well, if he goes down to NXT and wins arguably the indie darling, the C Brands Championship, well, he can't really go and beat Gunther on Raw for the IC title. Obviously, Gunther's so close to breaking the record, but no, it's just not going to happen. You can't go for that title. Austin Theory is the United States champion on SmackDown. Obviously, again, someone that got high hopes for in WWE. I know that a lot of fans, I don't know, Justin, if you agree with me with this, but maybe feeling that perhaps maybe his time to drop the championship is coming near. But when you look at NXT, the only babyface champion there was Wesley. Of the mid-card titles, and for Dom then to win that, and Dom now to be the champion, to get that heat, people want to see him get beat, and that means that you'll make arguably a bigger star for the person that wins the NXT North American Championship from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm happy that they gave the title to him, and Wesley, like being the babyface that he is, he gets cheered a lot and stuff, and also there's being more eyes on NXT now since Dominik Mysterio winning it. People
Absolutely.
because he brought it up to Raw. He's been bringing it to SmackDown. And people are like, oh, what is this North American Championship? Maybe I should tune into NXT. Watch this more. And see, that's what they're trying to make NXT more this like a main third brand. And so that's why they're bringing like all the that's why we've been seeing Seth Rollins down there, Finn Balor, the rest of the Judgment Day down there. So I think that's pretty smart of them to bring some big stars down there and
I
work
agree
with
with
these
you.
developmental talent. I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, the experience factor with some of the main roster talent that come down. I mean, with Dom is one of the more experienced people on the main roster, but still 3 years in front of the big lights doing it. Arguably his first match was on a SummerSlam against Seth Rollins in front of a lot of TV screens. Obviously that's something that's a very unique experience to go through and come through the other side. We've seen Dominik, win championships on the main roster, be on Raw and SmackDown. He can pass some knowledge down to some people that have not had that experience. So it is good to see him there. Obviously, Mustafa Ali, another one there. Baron Corbin, who we'll be talking about later in the stream. Also, Dana Brooke. There are many that are doing it at the moment. With Judgment Day right now, it feels that they are arguably, if not one of the hottest acts in WWE right now, certainly on Raw and when they're going on to NXT. And something that Ed mentioned actually on one of my previous streams, which I'll don't mind borrow, Ed, if you don't mind. It actually did say it's coming near where we're going to renew the TV deals at the moment. Obviously, NXT has been on USA Network now since 2019. It's coming near time. We're going to want to, get a better deal for WWE, get a better deal for NXT. What a better time than put some big names on NXT. We've seen Seth freaking Rollins recently against Braun Breaker. That is something that's going to make people say, maybe I should be renewing this deal. It's not nice when it actually comes to the point that they've renewed the deal and they'll take all that talent probably away and it's just NXT 2.0, 3.0 or whatever point they're at. But at the same time, if you look at it for the now, it's very good for NXT. And like you said a minute ago, Justin, people then will say, I've seen this title then on Raw and SmackDown. It's a higher viewership that could turn around and say, well, Dom's on NXT. They're promoting Rhea to be on NXT. Let's go and see what it's all about. Obviously, I believe the numbers for Dom when he won the title was 700,000 watching that show, which is one of the highest shows in recent memory. So they clearly are doing things right.
700K Dom. That's what he is. That's what he is. 700K Dom.
I like it. I like it indeed. Well, let's just quickly talk about a couple of the other competitors in this match. Obviously, Mustafa Ali has been through a bit of a unique character run in the last sort of few weeks on the build to this because he came in, kind of wanted to be on the side of Tyler Bate and as well as Wesley, trying to get himself into that title contention. Of course, there was the big match then with Tyler Bate and Wesley, where it was kind of a questionable referee to say the very least, but certainly a lot of character work coming out from him. It felt like he was leaning towards that tweener, maybe towards that heel side that we were going to get. Now, obviously, it's kind of somewhere where he's kind of been in the background for the last couple of weeks since Dom won the championship. Is Mustafa Ali the chance here for him where he could perhaps maybe have a breakout and sort of reinvigorate this character and show it on a bigger stage now that Dominik's going to be there as well? Or is it a situation now he's literally become the third man in this story? Plans have changed and perhaps maybe he's the person that's going to take the pinfall.
See, I think he's basically became the third man in this scenario. Basically, I mean, I like how they kind of been turning him more heel as of late. See, I thought the original plans was to have something involved with like Tyler Bate and have like have him fully turned heel again, do that. But then you throw Dominik in the mix and you have him win the title. And then this week on NXT you have Mustafa Ali come out and say Wesley, you fumbled the ball with it. That was I was going to win the championship. But now, now I can't win it. I was going, he's going to beat Wesley, and basically he says, calling out Wesley and all that. So yeah, he's basically did, full fledged heel turn now, which I kind of like it.
I do as well. I mean, for me, I've always been a big fan of Mustafa Ali, and I actually felt he was going to, when it was one-on-one, I felt Wesley's time was coming. I felt Ali was going to be the person to win the championship, but obviously now it's coming to the triple threat. I have a layer of doubt that's been thrown into my mind here when it comes to this match, but obviously we then talk about which, it has been now put into the comments as well. They're the longest reigning NXT North American champion there, which was Wesley. This is a man who's actually done a lot with that championship, has really built to a high prestige, while he's had this title reign, but not just for the title, he's done it for himself as well. Is Wesley getting to the point where he could be getting ready for a main roster call-up soon?
I definitely could see that. I mean, I don't really want him to go to the main roster because how some stars are treated up there. I feel like he might get lost in the shuffle. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him on SmackDown. I wouldn't mind seeing him over there, competing like in the US title scene or something like that. I mean, he's definitely not going to be going for the main event title. I'll tell you that right now. That's all tied up with the bloodline and all that. He's not going for that. Or heck, I wouldn't mind seeing him on Raw. I mean, that'd be pretty cool over here on Raw. So
I'm
Okay.
down for a Gunter versus Wesley match. I think that would. Well, I mean, I say it's if ever Gunter match, it would slap literally, and
Literally.
it would probably hurt as well. To be fair, that's why I wouldn't sign that contract. Just going to throw it out there now. But obviously, coming to the triple threat for me, I'm quite excited for this match. I've got to say, when we're talking about excitement matches, this is near the high end of the scale for me because every Wesley match for me recently, when it comes to these NXT specials, have almost been match of the night for me. I've really enjoyed them, and I think obviously the fact that Dominik Mysterio, the character work, the layers of what this can represent, this could be exciting from that element. Mustafa Ali, top talent as well. We know that he's definitely been heavily underused in WWE during his time period, but it comes down now to that point where, is Dirty Dom going to retain that championship? We need to ask the question.
What was that? What was that again? There, you kind of cut out there a little bit.
So apologies about that. I just said that we need to ask the question: is Dirty Dominik Mysterio retaining that North American Championship?
Oh yeah, I definitely, yeah, I think that Dirty Dom is going to be retaining because I feel like Wesley and Mustafa Ali, they're going to kind of have more, they're kind of going to cancel each other out in the match. They're going to be have more focus on each other because they want to be facing each other one on one, and also Rhea Ripley's going to be out there ringside, so she's going to help Dom win the match. So I definitely see Dom retaining because I want to see more. I want to see a whole bunch of gold in the Judgment Day. I think that'd be pretty cool.
It feels like it fits right now. I mean, if the shoe fits, you run with it. And for me, I reckon they should run with this a bit longer because, like I said, Dominik Mysterio's got the heel heat right now. I'm not saying he should go on and be holding this championship for 6, 12 months, anything like that. We've had the longest reign of the North American Championship. We don't need that. But what we do need right now is we need Dominik to sort of, bring some eyes to the prize, which he's been doing on Raw SmackDown with that championship, particularly on Raw. I don't need him on SmackDown every week. But at the same time, I would say that it would be nice to sort of have that feeling of each time he competes, not again. How does Dirty Dom, Con Don has actually found a way out of this once again. They're careful if I said that too quickly, by the way. But at the same time, like it's I just think to myself, it's the right move right now. Obviously, it's very, controversial for a lot of the NXT audience, and you can see how they reacted when he won it. You can see how they probably will be if he retains it. So I just like the energy that comes with the NXT arena with it. So for me, I would keep it going. And it just shows us proof and evidence why it's the right move and why I wish he was a part of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Because you can imagine Dirty Dom reaching for that briefcase, the fear and trepidation that would have gone through London there when the fingertips just touched the briefcase. For me, it was a missed opportunity. But for me, I think that now they've gone with a right opportunity. North American Championship, like you said, it's on a platform as well where it's good for him. He stands out as a top guy there as well. Feels like a big deal with NXT. I think it's right for him to retain. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go into the comment section in the meantime. Eric Douglas says, justice for Big Body Harvey. Of course, he needs a lot of things. Justice certainly could be one of them. C Nation says, I feel bad for Mustafa Ali. I had the feeling he may win the North American title, but that just isn't happening. And Mustafa Ali just can't win any title. He couldn't even win the 24/7 championship when he was around. C Nation goes on to say as well, he's got Dirty Dominik Mysterio to retain the North American Championship. And Eric Douglas here with a prediction from the main roster, Liv Morgan returning to win the Royal Rumble. Her vengeance will be at WrestleMania 40. Ed Frazer says, not only are they trying to keep eyes on NXT with numbers, they're trying to get these NXT talents robbed from the main roster talent. So when they get called up, they won't be getting quiet reactions, which again, another fantastic point. NXT call-ups is no strangers that not everybody watches NXT. They come up. It takes time for them to connect with the audience. With them doing this right here, this is a great opportunity for someone. Like, we mentioned Wesley, and you said the idea he could be lost potentially if he was in the shuffle, he was called up. But obviously, being in around Dominik Mysterio and Mustafa Ali at this point, you turn around and say, well, actually, he's there with two, I suppose, more familiar faces. If people were to check out NXT, that's something they would probably go to because that's what they know. And Wesley is someone that would benefit massively from this.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Having these guys, work, kind of get basically a rub from these main roster guys. And also, I think the reason why they go down there is so they can teach them how the main roster works. Because some of these guys, they go up to the main roster and they kind of get flustered. They go like, oh no, I thought this was gonna be like how NXT was, but no, it's like night and day difference from the main roster, to NXT. It's a difference, which it's so mind boggling. These are both the same company, but they seem so different. And that's what I always used to say, during like Black and Gold. But I mean, it's the truth. I mean, I just don't understand it because maybe because we got like a 80-year-old man up, Vince McMahon, running things, who's so out of touch and he doesn't know how to run the company. He doesn't like to give people pushes. But
It
that's there
feels
for another day.
I wonder which push we could be talking about at the minute there. But yeah, at the same time, like maybe his time will be coming soon. I'm pretty sure of that. But at the same time, like obviously, like you say, it's chalk and cheese. You're working with two different audiences, two different arguably fan bases. If you will, it's a hardcore demographic NXT compared to when you see the main roster that are the casuals that watch Raw and SmackDown. We are the different demographic that we spoke off air. We're watching everything that goes on when it comes to a wrestling week. There are literally we've become Darren Young, where there is no days off at this point. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a different way and a different ball game altogether. But NXT, it does get more of a minority of the WWE fan base, and obviously there's a great opportunity for some of these stars to get a rub and obviously get more experience, like you say, with working with main roster talent. Different eyes getting onto them as well. Obviously, Cora Jade, another one that's been working with Dana Brooke just recently. C Nation goes on to say, I kind of hate it when main event superstars go down and win NXT titles. NXT is supposed to be for younger superstars. I know Dominik Mysterio is young, but he's on the main roster now. Fair play. I mean, we're going to have difference of opinions some places on this, and to be fair, I am aware of quite a few people that are not fans that Dirty Dom has actually got himself into this position. Irish Wrestling and Entertainment in the house. Hope you are all doing well. Hoping this will lead to NXT being a part of Survivor Series this year. I mean, obviously with the flirtation of NXT, Raw and SmackDown, obviously intertwining a little bit. I mean, Laya Valkyria actually made her challenge to Rhea Ripley. I believe it was on Raw Talk or something like that. It was digital exclusive. I know that much. Obviously, people get the opportunities. We've seen Carmelo Hayes. We've seen many people on SmackDown recently just kind of get their faces shown on TV. Is there a chance that perhaps we could get NXT involved on Survivor Series this year?
I don't really think so. I mean, they're going to be back in Chicago this year, which the last time that they were in Chicago for Survivor Series was 2019. And NXT was involved, which I was actually there for that show. Which
wow, nice.
I might be going back this year, but that's there for another time. I would love to see NXT involved, but I think that was like a one-time thing. I don't see NXT getting involved again. I see maybe like them doing War Games again, possibly. And who knows if there's no even word if War Games is coming back this year for Survivor Series. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing NXT though involved with Survivor Series again.
It could help them in some form of TV numbers. All the things we said that could help NXT right now with that next TV deal. Certainly Survivor Series would be a massive one to do so, being a top 4 pay-per-view. And no one will change my mind. Otherwise, it's still one of the big 4, in my opinion. C Nation says Wesley had the most North American title defenses as well. That he literally, I mean, to be fair, was doing open challenges all the time. I can't say I'm surprised. C Nation says he wants Wesley in the NXT title picture. He's been built up so well. Do you reckon that could be a natural progression then after this? Perhaps maybe the winner of Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes, Wesley could be that guy that could turn around and say, hey, I'm going to get a shot next.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that'd be cool to see Wesley in the main event picture and see how he works up there. And then maybe, if he does good, with them in the main event spot, maybe, when he gets pulled to the main roster, he'll be ready for a main event spot someday. But yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool to see him in the main event scene.
Absolutely. Here's a flip for you from Dominik Mysterio. Dolph Ziggler when the NXT Championship was bad. Dolph Ziggler in his 40s. That title is for younger talent, in CD's opinion. I can see where it's coming from with the Dolph Ziggler one, of course, especially when he retained it at Stand and Deliver against Braun Breakout, although he did lose it the following night on the Raw after Mania, of course, of that year. Not going to lie, though, he does say Dominik Mysterio has been an awesome NXT North American champion, defending against main roster wrestlers. Of course, at this point, Butch and Sami Zayn are the two. And just to get a bit of love as well, before we move on to our next match there, CD coming in with another comment here, which will come on the screen now. It says Juggernaut 097 should be on this channel more. He's an awesome co-host, and he truly is indeed. We're pleased, very excited to have him on the channel here today. Justin, again, thank you so much. But we will be moving on to the next match then. In the meantime, let's talk about the NXT Women's Championship match in a submission match. That's right, Tiffany Stratton going against Thea. Before we start, Justin, can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
There we go. I was confident I could get that to work. Hopefully the comments did it as well for everyone watching. But yeah, I mean, literally this one, Thea Hale was actually the person that managed to get herself an opportunity, winning a battle royale. There was a bit of friction with the celebration as well with Tiffany Stratton when she first won the championship. This has led on then to Thea Hale getting the championship chance at Gold Rush. She did manage to use a Kimura lock, which was taught to her by Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. Of course, this was why Andre Chase was not in the building at the time. He was away for the time being. We had Duke Hudson that was running things with Chase U. Of course, now Andre Chase has come back since, but of course, that match, the ref didn't see the tap out. Thea Hale should be the NXT Women's Champion at this point. It is a perfect babyface and heel tactic, something very old school, if you will. But of course, Tiffany Stratton found a way to win on that match. And of course, since then, it's always been about the excitement of rematch from the Chase U lot. And it feels like now they've finally got their way. Absolutely. Let's all do it together there, if you can see us there at home. But at the same time here, Thea Hale, she obviously has perfected this Kimura lock. She's a babyface. This is the championship match here. The only question that comes to my mind here, and this is where I kind of slightly go towards the predictions slightly early here, and I don't mean to do so, but it does feel to me, I don't know if there's many submissions in the Tiffany Stratton locker, you know, in a book that she has of moves that she does, but at the same time, it feels to me that this is all heavily stacked in favor of the babyface, and it could be unfortunate if we actually find ourselves, you know, with Tiffany actually, you know, finding a way to retain her championship here. Dragunov, I know we've lost you, but can we still hear you?
Yeah, I'm still here.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be definitely an interesting match. You know, like I think it's pretty cool that they're adding the stipulation onto this. You know, a submission match here. But definitely, I see Tiffany Stratton retaining here. I don't see her losing anytime soon. I mean, that'd be cool to see Thea Hill, and I just don't see it happening. And I agree with you. You know, like Tiffany Stratton, you know, she doesn't have too much submissions like in her like back pocket like that she can use, or she's not like a submission specialist. But yeah, I'm just wondering like how she's gonna like utilize the submission or like what she's gonna do. And this is gonna see some different side of Tiffany Stratton as well. You know, and I think she's pretty good in the ring. She has been improving as of late. But yeah, Tiffany Stratton's retaining the title.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I've got the same prediction, but I've got a couple of theories that I'm going to try and spice it up a little bit, if you will, there, rather than just give my predictions. I've got an idea of how I think it might play out. But what I will say quickly, you said there, very heavily improving. I have to agree. Tiffany Stratton's going to another stratosphere at this moment, because I can see her becoming I can see her being a top female on the main roster as well. I can see it actually at WrestleMania. I think that the sky is the limit for Tiffany Stratton, and Thea Hale as well. Obviously, she's like 19 years old. Like the character work that this girl has got is unbelievable. I mean, anyone would kill to have that sort of charisma at her age. She seems to have it all in the locker. These two got a very, very bright future. But here is where I think I might have an idea of where this could go down. And it's two different ways, but I think the way I've got here could be the way. Tiffany Stratton, I think you can see the referee being knocked out here, and I can see Thea Hale putting that Kimura lock in. I can see it being where Tiffany taps again. I can see obviously that Thea will probably let it go. I wouldn't be surprised if then there's like a knockout blow or something, and just a submission move is put on, and then actually the referee may call for the bell. But I do think an alternative method could be that at ringside could be Duke Hudson and Andre Chase. They could be, say, knocked down by Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak, and instead of her actually tapping out, I wouldn't be surprised if the towel is thrown in. That would be my method of actually seeing Tiffany Stratton retain the championship in a screw job way to get Chase U to continue a feud on with Charlie Dempsey and with Drew Gulak coming at the end of this. And of course, poor Thea Hale would have to go to the back of the line, but I can see a towel throw coming, just kind of like Bob Backlund from the Aces. That's going to be my way of seeing it go down.
I definitely could say both scenarios, but I think the scenario like with the referee going down, with Thea Hale locking on submission, I definitely could see that happening there. Yeah, I definitely see that one happening, like kind of like a knockout blow. I think that scenario could happen more, but you never know. Anything can happen in NXT.
Absolutely. We'll have to wait and see. It's been a good story. I've actually enjoyed the build for this one, but let's see what our chat is saying. CD in-house once again says, this is an easy one. Tiffany Stratton retains the NXT Women's Championship. Thea isn't ready yet, but I tell you what, not yet, but she will be very soon. Obviously, still one of the first challengers at this point as well for Tiffany. I think she's got quite a lengthy run potentially in her. Eric, though, reckons that Thea will win and Tiffany goes up to SmackDown. Of course, Tiffany was featured one of the faces put on SmackDown just recently. And Ed Friday says Tiffany Stratton feels like the next Trish Stratus. She is a former non-wrestler who becomes a star. And to be fair, like I said, I think there's star quality all over Tiffany. Do you see her being one of the bright stars of the future?
I definitely do. She has that like pretty girl sense about her, and who she really reminds me of. She reminds me of Tori Wilson back in the
Okay.
day. Like I definitely see like some resemblances from both of them. Yeah, I definitely see that because I remember was a Tiffany Stratton. Was she like bringing? No, that was Taya that was bringing a dog with her.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Frankie Monet. Yeah,
Frankie Monet. Yeah, she was bringing a dog with her. But yeah, I definitely see like Tiffany and like a who did I say not Trish Stratus, Tiffany and who was it? Not Candice Michelle.
You said Tori Wilson.
Yeah, Tori Wilson. Yeah. I definitely see a resemblance between both of them. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, fair play to you. The comparison to me is the Mean Girls movie. I think that's where that's perfectly done with those two. But the sort of the character work, like I say, is fantastic from Tiffany. Absolutely sublime. Sidney is back from his vacation today, and he had fun on that vacation. It's good to see he had fun on the vacation. We will get Juggernaut back on the screen very, very shortly. But in the meantime, we will be going to our next match then, and this one's going to be an interesting one. Gable Steveson has announced he's going to be part of NXT moving forward against, well, a new Baron Corbin who's kind of ditched all of his gimmicks and he's going to be just him going forward, which is going to be quite fun to see. An interesting pairing to make this happen. But of course, Gable Steveson had the opportunity to be someone that could go back and do the Olympics for a second time. He could have gone back and won another NCAA or whatever he was winning in college, or he could go and have a shot at the big time. Of course, he first off came back making the return, helping Eddie Thorpe in the NXT Underground match, of course, against his relative Damon Kemp. But for me, it seems big time. It feels it makes sense as well. The Great American Bash, that you'd have a Olympic gold medalist compete on this show. I'm quite looking forward to Steveson versus Corbin. This was a very interesting match, despite the fact it's got a very short build, which for me means that probably not so much to discuss here, rather than, I suppose, what are your thoughts of the two characters, of how they've been portrayed over TV as of late?
I like how Baron Corbin has been portrayed as of late, with him ditching all of his gimmicks, trying to reinvent himself, going back down to NXT. I think that's been pretty cool. I'm not the biggest Baron Corbin fan, but hey, I kind of go back to when it was at the Money in Bank 2020 when he broke that mirror, and he had all those years of bad luck. This is all this bad luck that's happening to him.
True story.
He had 7 years of bad luck. And watch, after these 7 years of bad luck, guess what? He's going to start winning championships. He's going to be main event in WrestleMania. No, that's not going to happen. I mean, you never know. You never know. And then, Gable Steveson, I think, we haven't really seen a whole lot of him lately. I mean, we've seen him, on, a little bit in backstage segments and stuff, in NXT Underground, or like an Underground as well, helping out Eddie Thorpe win. But there really hasn't been a whole lot with him, and he's been signed with NXT for a little bit. They were, trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. And like you said, if he goes to, competes in the Olympics again, or if he goes back, to college, does more wrestling in college. I think it's going to be this is definitely going to be an interesting match. To see how Gable Steveson works, because I never really seen him much. He hasn't really had any in-ring work, like in front of a crowd and stuff, and on TV. But I'm gonna say Gable Steveson wins. I think he needs to get a win over Baron Corbin here. I think this doesn't really hurt Baron Corbin if he loses, and this can this can help Baron Corbin kind of like he can kind of spiral a little bit even more. Still try to figure out himself. So I'm gonna say Gable Steveson wins.
I like that, because I mean, you just the last point you said, that really hits it home, because Baron Corbin, he seems to have ditched everything, but we haven't really got a real definement yet of what the new Baron Corbin is. It still does, it's the same Corbin that's coming out at this precise moment. Like you said, a bit more spiraling, could just actually push him over the edge to see what this Corbin we're going to get. So I'm with you. I think Gable Steveson will pick up the win. It seems weird for him to be on this show now and WWE not to give him the W. So for me, I'm going to go for Gable Steveson to actually pick up the W. But so we'll go into the chat then and see what they've got to say. I got Baron Corbin. It's a CD. You can't overpush Gable Steveson, and Baron Corbin has a new gimmick. Absolutely. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's an interesting pairing they've put together. Obviously, Baron Corbin has always been seen as a safe pair of hands. Do you reckon he's a good selection as a first opponent for Gable Steveson in a one-on-one match?
I believe it's a good, like he's an all right in ring worker. I mean, he's not the greatest, but he's pretty good at calling stuff. So I think it's a pretty good choice to go with Baron Corbin. And like I said, it doesn't really hurt Baron Corbin if he loses. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, as I've said, safe pair of hands. We mentioned already about this main roster sharing a vast experience of the talent that's perhaps not used to working each and every week in front of the big lights on a Raw or a SmackDown. As C-Nation actually goes to say here, he was actually drafted to Raw. Gable Steveson didn't show up once. So yeah, I mean, this is a good opportunity to do that. So yeah, as we say, we've gone for Steveson to win. And Ed Fries here remind us there's a reason WWE hasn't gone a full-on push for Gable. ... We'll leave it at the ... there. I feel I know what you're implying. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it's going to go down. But I think for a match here, I think Gable Steveson has shown he's impressive with the big belly-to-belly overhead throws. We'll see how if he's going to throw Corbin around or not. Maybe it will actually be quite a spectacle to see. But I don't see it being the longest match on the show. Gable Steveson shouldn't be a main roster talent in his debut match. John Cena lost his debut match too. And it's a fair point. It's a fair argument made there. Cena did lose 2-1 Kurt Angle in his first match on SmackDown back in 2002. Anything else you'd like to mention before we move on to our next match?
I think we hit all the points for this match.
I think we did as well. We did this one in quite good time, actually, as well there. One other comment then from CD says, Seth freaking Rollins beat Dominik Mysterio in his debut match. Dominik Mysterio turned out just fine. And to be fair, he did turn out just fine. There's quite a few people do lose their first match. Maybe Gable, one of them. We'll find out this Sunday. But in the meantime, we've got another match we're going to talk about, and it's a championship match. It will come. It is the tag team championship there. We had to be patient for it, but here it is. It is Gallus defending against Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo. And my goodness, we could be a while here talking about this one, Justin, because to be fair, Tony's been locked up for a while. Obviously, he's been framed by Gallus, it seems, if I've got this right. But like, there was a feeling at one point that Stacks was in on it because he wanted to become from the underboss to becoming the main boss. And this was used to trick Gallus to getting Tony D out of jail, because there was a match then that was made of Joe Coffey and Stacks. And if Stacks won the match, Tony D was released. All charges were dropped. Of course, if Stacks had lost that match, then of course Tony D would have been spending a lot longer in the slammer. Obviously here, this has been building for a long time with these tag team championships. A lot of people felt that the D'Angelo family were going to win these titles at WrestleMania. So the fact they've kind of built a story almost from April till now, they've done a pretty good job here, getting it all the way to the end of July. It still feels kind of fresh. It feels like the right time to do the match. Have you enjoyed the build on the storyline between these two teams?
I have been enjoying this this feud here, or the storyline, with Tony D being in jail and stuff. I thought that's been pretty cool. Prison Tony D. That's what he is. I mean, he ain't like Dom, because Dom, he turned out a different man when he was in prison.
Absolutely.
Prison Dom. But I've been enjoying this. I like how Stacks, when he locked Joe Coffey up in the trunk. I thought that was hilarious. And then he tried to cut a deal. Hey, you can't try to cut deals with Stacks. He outsmarted you, which I think it's cool. And Gallus, I've been enjoying Gallus as well. That I like their tag team reign that they've been having. They've been tag team champions for about a couple months now. Yeah. Because they won, I'm pretty sure, didn't they win them back at NXT Stand Deliver? I'm pretty sure.
It might have been before. It might have actually been the Vengeance Day show, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe someone can confirm it in the comments below for us. But yeah, I mean, literally, I feel it was when the New Day was still around. So I think that could have been the show before. I think they retained them at WrestleMania weekend at Stand and Deliver, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm sure we'll get a confirmation on that in a couple of seconds' time. But it's certainly interesting, nonetheless, with how this has played out. And obviously, when it comes down to it, I see there's one of three scenarios that could happen. Obviously, Gallus could just retain the championships. We could get new champions. But of course, there could be that element here, obviously, where what if Stacks does still want to become the main boss? What if there is that scenario? Because like, could there be a way that he could still, get Tony D out of prison, but yet still cost him because he wants to become the main guy of that family?
I mean, yeah, that could definitely, be there still could be a way about, he can attack him during the match, during the match and cost him the match there. And then basically they could start a feud and, say, oh, they do like a winner, the winner becomes like the new underboss or something like that. And loser has to leave or I don't know, do some type
Mhm.
of scenario like that.
It
But
could be possible.
I don't really see that happening though. I really don't. Like, because at Battleground, I'm pretty sure that they were involved in a tag team match, which I was predicting the family to win. I was predicting them to win there. You know what? And they're really over right now. They're in NXT. So I say it's time to put the titles on them because I think Gallus has had a pretty good title reign. Who knows? Maybe it's time to put them to the main roster. Put Gallus up on the main roster.
Interesting indeed. There, I'm going to actually agree with you on the prediction. Whether Gallus go up or not remains to be seen. But what I will say is that I do feel that I feel that the family's going to win it. I have the feeling. I felt it for a while. I said it on a few streams. I was like, Gallus will retain it because it's going to be Tony D and Channing Stacks Lorenzo when the time is right. The time is here and the time is now. And I think that. Yeah, it feels like the right decision. It feels like the right time to pull that trigger. Whether it is, like you say, Gallus moving up, others will have to wait and see. But yeah, I think that it'd be interesting to see them as tag team champions, D'Angelo and Stacks. And hopefully, if they are going to do that breakup at some point, they can do it at a later date. It doesn't need to be done yet. There's time to play this out and see where it goes. But a big thank you to Ed, C Nation, and Eric, all letting us know, by the way, that Vengeance Day was the destination where Gallus did win those championships. So our chat is reliable as ever. And also we've got Eric Douglas here saying the family wins, and we've got Eric saying no, stay, and Tony double crossed Tony was in on it. Okay, yeah, it says the double cross there and Tony was in on it. Well, that's kind of how it will play out. Hopefully, we'll see. Tony Gianzo says Channing Stacks can do a breakup after the tag team title reign, which was what we just discussed a minute ago there. As fun as they could do it now, if they wanted to pull the trigger, it's better to let them have the tag team title reign play out first. Maybe Stand and Deliver next year could be the perfect place to do this breakup with these two.
I think that would be a pretty good, spot to do that there. Because like I want to, have them, have a pretty good title reign and stuff, and kind of start seeing that, then start to see the dissension between them, and then have them, when they lose the titles, that's when you have Stacks, Stacks churn on Tony D, or vice
Absolutely.
versa.
That could be interesting as well. It doesn't have to be one way. It can always be the other way as well. It could be the fact that, Stacks is kind of taking too much control, therefore that Tony wants to stamp his authority. So there's always different ways they could do it. It'd be interesting to see how it would play out. But one thing's for sure, we are predicting that they will win the tag team championships on this show. So we'll move on in the meantime then to our next match. And we're going weapons wild next now. We've got Roxanne Perez versus Blair Davenport. We've already touched on this a little bit in the stream, obviously, but we'll go from the top and we'll work our way through it once again then. Obviously, Blair Davenport was the guilty party that has been attacking many of the females in the NXT parking lot. Obviously, the NXT parking lot is the most dangerous parking lot of all of wrestling. If you attend an NXT show, anybody, be careful in that parking lot as you are going in and out of the arena. It's just for your health and safety. It's the reason we mention it each and every time. But obviously, we've seen the likes of Nikita Lyons, Wendy Chu attacked in the car park, Roxanne Perez being another one. And obviously, some of the people were out for a little bit at the time. With Roxanne, it was not really like that. That was more when the reveal was being done. They had a match, of course, on which I believe was Independence Day, the July 4th edition of NXT, which Blair Davenport won. And since then, obviously, we've kind of seen now this NXT Anonymous going around, which Blair has actually said it's not her. That is a totally different thing that's not connected with her, which was quite interesting when it comes to showing the backstage advice with Booker T and Roxanne, which of course Booker T was not the most happy about. That certainly wasn't one of his, the quack moments of the night for him. He was definitely a bit upset seeing that had played out. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen, because obviously then we had the convenience store sort of moment afterwards where we see Roxanne and Blair have the beatdown going on, which we discussed earlier. It seems like this has become quite a blood feud. This has become quite personal throughout this, and I think what they've done quite nicely with this is that Blair Davenport seems to have a number of people people she can feud with through what she's done here. The question is, though, will she pick up a victory in Weapons Wild, which is a whole new element of itself, adding the weapons to play here. Obviously, these two ladies can't be contained to a regular match at this point. We've upped the ante, we've upped the stakes. There's only been one of these in NXT history previously, which I'm not mistaken is Tegan Nox versus Dakota Kai. That was the place that Raquel Gonzalez, that's right, that time was Gonzalez, made a debut to be with Dakota Kai. What are your thoughts with Weapons Wild being added here to Roxanne Perez versus Blair Davenport with their build?
I really like that this is a Weapon Wild match. I think it's pretty cool. Blair Davenport, she's been, attacking people like left and right and stuff, which I really enjoyed that. Like I said, I enjoyed her indie work and stuff, and I'm happy that she's over here in NXT. And Roxanne Perez, she just wants to get revenge on her, and with having her attack her in that convenience store was that was really awesome that they did that. Like I said, it kind of goes back to Booker T and Stone Cold, back in the day on the SmackDown. Amazing stuff there. I'm excited for this. It's going to be definitely a brutal match. Hopefully, no women gets injured in this match here. Hopefully. But I would say that I feel like this feud is going to continue more, longer. So I'm going to say give the heel the win. I'm going to say give Blair Davenport the win here. And ultimately, at the end, I'm pretty sure that Roxanne Perez will end up winning end up winning the feud.
I think that certainly could be the direction they could go. I mentioned a couple of minutes ago about the last time there was a Weapons Wild match and how it ended with Raquel Gonzalez obviously helping Dakota Kai. I have a funny feeling this NXT Anonymous, this second mystery reveal is actually going to be linked to Blair Davenport, because Blair said it, to have the question asked to her outright on screen made me feel like, well, you are in on this because you've openly said that you're not. I just can't help it. It feels like a WWE story from like the 90s. Obviously, Shawn Michaels the one behind the pencil there. And an interesting thing that's been put here from Eric Douglas obviously has the same thing in mind here. I've not necessarily suggested this person, but obviously Tatum Paxley not doing a lot at the moment. That could be quite interesting if it was someone like her. And what's another name that's been suggested here as well from Ed Fries, suggesting Stevie Turner. Obviously, he's not been on TV for quite a while now either. And she was someone that was actually doing the streaming stuff. So she would have the equipment in place to do such a thing. What do you reckon?
I wouldn't mind seeing Stevie Turner or Tatum Paxley. I'd be more on the side of Stevie Turner because, like I said, she does have the equipment. She has that kind of like hacker type of gimmick about her. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'd say Stevie Turner would actually be pretty cool. Bring her in. Have a relationship with Blair Davenport. Have a working relationship there. I thought that'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
absolutely. Of course, two fellow Brits as well, because Stevie Turner being from Scotland. So that actually would work quite nicely. So actually, I think that Stevie Turner could be the one. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think then that gives the idea of Roxanne Perez needing some backup, maybe someone like a Wendy Chu maybe coming back soon. I don't know the situation with Nikita Lyons. Obviously, Sol Ruka is out for the long term, so certainly won't be her in the near future. But this could then build into some tag team warfare. And like you say, Roxanne Perez could pick up the win at a later date. Seems quite exciting. I quite like the idea of Weapons Wild. The weapons element of this as well, it just adds a different layer. It's something different, something fresh, something we're not seeing for the Roxanne character either. We mentioned this earlier in the stream, seeing like almost a more aggressive side of her. And hopefully this will be a match that will suit quite nicely. I think Roxanne did have a match that was weapons involved, not a Weapons Wild match, but a weapons match involved with Cora Jade at one point as well. So for me, that could be quite fun to see the toys brought out, if you will, again. But we'll go into the comments anyway, and we'll see what everyone is saying. We've got C Nation Dog here saying that Roxanne Perez will win this one. Good to see that we've got some alternative picks in there as well. Thank you, CD, for that. Eric Douglas making reference to the convenience store. The poor customer just wanted to get some food. Absolutely, we need to price check on the item in aisle 3. That's what we need after that. But yeah, poor Blair Davenport and poor Roxanne Perez couldn't help themselves. They had to get involved there, and probably more of a poor customer of the 3, to be fair. Sin Nation is not a fan of Booker T on commentary, but yeah, to be fair, Booker T is a unique taste on commentary. I've got to say, I don't mind him, but I actually think he's better suited to NXT with Vic Joseph. I remember when he was doing it like 10 years ago, I was less of a fan than I am now. Are you a fan of Booker T on commentary?
I didn't really like him, like when he was doing main roster commentary. I mean, yeah, Booker T is controversial. He kind of does say some weird stuff at some points. especially sometimes in his podcast as well. I don't agree with all of his points. But I don't mind what he's been doing as of late. I mean, he's over the top, he's outlandish and stuff, like shucky ducky quack quack and all that.
Mm.
But I mean that's the way Booker T is. So I mean it's the way he's gonna be. So I don't mind it.
I don't mind it either. I'll be honest. I'm not. They said don't hate the player, hate the game. I'm not sure I'm hating the player at the moment. I don't mind it. I've grown with Booker T into the role. Of course, Wade Barrett was fantastic in his role before being called up to SmackDown, but I think Booker T has filled the shoes. And like I say, sometimes some controversial takes, but to be fair, I mean, it's good to have someone like Booker around there. Obviously, he's been around the block. He's been WCW. WWE. He's seen and done it all. So he's got a vast knowledge as well. He can pass over to that locker room. And of course, he's someone that's trained Roxanne Perez as well. And it says, Eric Douglas says it was actually Corbin Jade at Halloween Havoc the last time that the weapons came out to play there. Blair Davenport has already beaten Roxanne Perez. That's right. And we're going for 2-0 at this point, it feels at the moment. And Eric Douglas here saying, the only thing I didn't like was Roxanne should have said clean up little Aussie Open, if you know. Well, Aussie Open would be for the Aussies, but of course Brit is from the UK. If I'm she's from New Zealand, isn't she? I'm gonna have to. Unfortunately, some of the facts are off tonight. I'm gonna have to Google check this one.
I think she might be from New Zealand. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure she's from New Zealand.
We're going to find out for you in the meantime. In the meantime, I'll just quickly go with a cut here. Eric saying maybe Cora goes back to being a babyface. Maybe at some point she may do. It doesn't seem to be any time yet. And Bear back on it saying, we're going to do a watch along. Not for NXT, no. Unfortunately, the time zone's just not kind enough for me when these shows are live. So unfortunately, that will not be the case. But still looking to do some retro watch alongs at some point in the future. But hey, maybe if there's a show when like I'm not working and it actually fits in a time zone that could work for my time zone, there's a possibility maybe I could look into it, but unfortunately it won't be for this show.
So Blair Davenport is from New Zealand. You are correct about that.
There we are. Well, it was I think it was the third guess from me, but we got there in the end, which is good to see. C Nation definitely is not a fan of Booker T on commentary, and Eric Douglas says no, because Blair dated Will Ospreay. There we are. And it's Harrogate for Ed Frazer said there, but trained in New Zealand. So there we are, clearing up for us there. Thank you very much indeed there. But well, we've cleared everything up there, I think, when it comes to Blair Davenport versus Roxanne Perez. But there's one thing we have yet to decide, and of course, that is your NXT main event. That's right. It's for the NXT Championship. It is Carmelo Hayes taking on Ilja Dragunov. This match here, of course, Ilja Dragunov has made himself the #1 contender by defeating Bron Breaker. And of course, once he'd done that, he got himself into the position. It says that he makes people care. But every time he's in the ring, people feel something when it comes there. Vic Joseph has described this match as the Dynasty versus the Destiny. The Dynasty, of course, of Carmelo Hayes being the champion. The Destiny of Ilja Dragunov. Of course, Ilja Dragunov still hasn't actually, I don't know if he's had other opportunities, but he never lost the NXT UK Championship. So it's good to see him getting the opportunity here to go for the NXT Championship on this show. For me, two are going to be baby faces, but we've seen quite an aggressive side from Ilja as of late, especially with the mishap this past week on NXT with Trick Williams. Of course, that led to Trick calling out Ilja Dragunov, which Ilja basically said, I will accept that fight, and literally kind of took Trick to school in the end, to the point that Carmelo actually had to take the bullet, if you will, for Trick Williams when Ilja hit his finishing move on him to actually stand then tall with the championship going out of the show. But will Ilja Dragunov actually win the championship when it comes to NXT's Great American Bash? Before we go into prediction, what are your thoughts? Are you excited for Carmelo Hayes versus Ilja Dragunov? And what are your thoughts of the build?
Oh, I am so much looking forward to this match. This is probably the match I'm looking forward to the most on this whole pay-per-view. And the build's been pretty decent. You had, Ilja win a, #1 contenders match, pretty simple. And I like how they did that. And then they had him getting involved in, with the whole tag team match because, with the Judgment Day and all that. But then that cost Carmelo and he was tagging up a Trick, right? It was Carmelo and Trick going up against a Judgment Day.
Yeah,
I believe in it. Yeah. So then Carmelo was upset about that. And then, they kind of been, butting heads at, kind of like ever since, you saw him in a tag team match and then, accidentally, attacking, accidentally hitting Trick Williams, which Trick thought was on purpose. Cause so we kind of been seeing like maybe a little bit more aggressive Ilya Dragunov here. Um, but as it goes for the match, I'm just torn like on this prediction here because like is it time for Carmelo to eventually get moved up to the main roster? Because I wouldn't mind seeing Ilya Dragunov hold the NXT championship. But after kind of after seeing what happened on this week's NXT, usually like when the champion, usually when they get like kind of laid out like on the go home show, like WWE booking here, usually they kind of end up retaining, but that's not always the case. But there's something in my gut that says, hey, go with Ilya Dragunov. Go with Ilya Dragunov.
Interesting. But the thing is, there is an argument for both sides here, and of course, I'm gonna just dive into the rumor mill very very quickly, or speculation station. Obviously, I love a train ride, and to be fair, that people have been talking for a while. I have not got perhaps the dirt sheets off the top of my head of where they've come from, but we've seen reports of Ilya Dragunov potentially being a fourth member of Imperium before. We've seen that in the rumor mill. We've seen as well just recently, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams have met Bobby Lashley at SmackDown. Now, we don't know what that meeting is referring to at the moment, but we do know that Bobby also met with the Street Profits the week before. Is there a potential argument here that this match being done is done now because perhaps one of those two guys, potentially the loser, maybe even both of them, I don't know how they're going to play things with WWE at the minute with the way that the draft is not basically working out, that one of these guys could be actually going to one of those destinations?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys. I would be more. I wouldn't be surprised if Carmelo Hayes goes to the Hurt Business, Hurt Business 2.0. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Ilya Dragunov, I don't know if I want to see him in Imperium though, because he's had those banger matches against Gunther or Walter before, back in NXT. So I don't know if be able to coexist like that. I think it would make more sense with Carmelo Hayes and like Trick Williams to go to the Hurt Business 2.0.
Be interesting. It's very interesting to see how it'll play out. It's good to get your thoughts on it as well, by the way. For me, I actually wouldn't be against either thing happening. I even wouldn't be surprised if the idea of actually Dragunov facing Gunther first and then kind of aligning with him afterwards. If you can't beat them, join them kind of mentality. But at the same time, what I would say is that this match, I think, has got the potential to pretty much steal the show. They're both fantastic performers, but like you said there is a tease and a temptation to go with Dragunov, but I tell you what, just when you think of it, Dragunov held up that championship just before the show. Like, you don't do that. It's the kiss of death. You don't do that. I have a feeling that Dragunov's name is going to end up on the t-shirt in the rafters with the rest of them. I can see Carmelo Hayes retaining the NXT championship. I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah, you just made a good point on there. You're kind of swimming towards Carmelo Hayes now because you just don't do that. You hold up. You haven't even won the championship yet. It's this bad luck coming to you. Like people holding grabbing the Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, you just don't do that. I mean, it worked out with Liv Morgan and stuff, but it's just you don't hold someone else's championship up if you haven't won it yet. So I'm gonna say that Carmelo Hayes retains now. Yeah, you got me swaying towards Carmelo Hayes now.
Interesting. And tell you what, there's a couple of really interesting comments that have come flying in as well. So let's quickly go through to them. Going to start off with a prediction from CD. As this Carmelo Hayes will retain the NXT Championship. That certainly is good to see. He agrees with our prediction here. First one is a question from West Coast Podcast. Amazing content, by the way. Make sure to go and subscribe to the channel. It says, hey guys, great to hear from you both. Do you think NXT PLEs should be the week before a main roster PLE, like Great American Bash and SummerSlam, so the weekends don't feel overloaded? What's your thoughts on this take?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I hated how they did what was the last show? NXT Battleground, and it was AEW Double or Nothing on the same night. I just don't like that how they overload these shows. Like, logic. Them actually putting a show on a different weekend where it's not overloaded, like with all these other companies, which I like that because I mean we already have wrestling on basically every week of the night. We don't need to have multiple shows running on the same night. Kind of like spread it out. There's 4 or 5 weeks in the month. So like I said, spread these PLEs out. And I like it. Having it go before the having the NXT pay per views go before the main roster pay per views. I kind of like that. I kind of like that
Yeah.
idea.
I do as well. I mean, I can see from a marketing perspective why to do it on the same weekend like they used to. For example, go back to like Takeover Brooklyn, like when you'd have it the week before, the night before SummerSlam. You've got the venue 2 nights in a row. You can extortionate ticket prices. You can attach Raw onto the end of it in the Barclays Center as well, for example. And all of a sudden, there you've got a big package deal. You've got a big payday. Obviously, you're going to have all the seats full in the house, for example, for these sort of takeover style shows. I can see why WWE would make that as the moneymaker, but it's not what they're doing recently. Clearly, I don't know if it's a confidence thing in NXT or they're trying to give fans that bit of a breather. Like you say, it's the idea of, well, there are other weekends we can play here. For example, you mentioned there, for example, there is competition. AEW have shows and they can put them on against AEW. They can put them on at the same weekends as an Impact show, for example, because they're confident NXT will probably maybe do as well. I don't know, but at the same breath, I'm of that feeling, like you say, it's nice for the brain when you haven't got to do all of these shows in the same weekend. I personally prefer it, even when it's under the same umbrella of the same company, WWE. It's nice that because there's other weekends to play with. There's so much wrestling now to keep up with. Yes, even if you're a WWE fan, there's so much to keep up with. You've got Raw, you've got NXT, you've got SmackDown. There's main event in the middle if that's your flavor. You've got the bump, you've got all other things, Raw Talk, SmackDown Lowdown. There's so much going on this stuff, and there's probably stuff I've not even mentioned. Level Up, for example. It's like there's so much going on, so it's nice to not have everything crammed onto one. So yeah, I personally feel that it doesn't become overloaded that way.
And
Now
I
we,
think it's cool how they do these pay per views, like
yeah,
on how they do these NXT shows on Sundays, and they do the main roster pay per views on Saturdays. I think it's still kind of it's still kind of weird, because I'm used to having more of the NXT shows on Saturdays and then the WWE main roster on the Sundays. But
yeah.
I kind of like switching it up here and stuff. I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Just come back to Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov. This is the comment that really took my eyes because, first off, it did say he's not giving too many thoughts. He's got to save his something for Saturday because, of course, I'll be on Ed Fry's channel, our local establishment, on Saturday, along with Astrid Pizarro, talking about NXT, talking about the Great American Bash. So make sure they'll join us there. It'll be at 7:30 p.m. UK time, which means it'll be 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. But Ed is going to say this. Remember the words friendship and loyalty. Could it be suggesting something there with Carmelo and Trick Williams, maybe?
Hmm. Maybe Trick Williams turning on Carmelo.
What if? How would you feel?
I don't think I would. I don't know. I think that'd be. I don't think there was like any reason for them to turn on each other right now. Maybe maybe some like jealousy. You go like, hey, he has that championship I won. Maybe something like that. But like, I want to see something kind of like get built up towards that way. What I mean?
Mm,
Like, so I think it. But then again, Trick Williams has been kind of getting a hot head lately, especially this week on NXT. How he wanted to go after Ilya Dragunov, and then how Carmelo had to come in and take that bullet. So maybe, they can kind of like have some like differences and stuff. Go like, hey, I came and gave you, I took that bullet for you. You should be thanking me, or something like
absolutely.
that.
And Trick can always make the argument as well. Look, I told you get to handle your business at the Great American Bash. This was the time for me to handle my business. And if I ended up taking a beating, I should have taken that beating. I don't need you looking after me. I don't need you coming and watching my back. And it's almost could play that thing of you see yourself as the better guy than me, and I'm like the understudy. You can see they've slowly tried to really build up Trick Williams, it feels, over the last sort of since WrestleMania weekend, since Carmelo won the championship. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they did that match during Carmelo's reign as NXT champion, or certainly the cause of him losing it. And the only thing I would say is, for me personally, I hope it doesn't happen. And I've talked to people previously who would disagree with me, and that's fine if you do. But I worry about Trick Williams without Carmelo Hayes. I think that I don't think I like them as a double act. I think it works for me without each other. I can see Carmelo Hayes would do fine, but at the same time, I think even Carmelo Hayes benefits from that partnership. They sort of, they bounce off each other. They work really, really well as a combination. I think even if you brought them to a main roster, if there was a period where you think yourself, right, I don't know what to do with Carmelo Hayes for the mid-card title right now or the world title, depending on what you want to do. You can actually, if you build a Trick up that much, you can even have them as a tag team for a period, actually going for tag team gold. There's something you can actually do with them if you build them up. For me, I just like them as a pairing. But at the same time, I don't know. There's something that's been put there, seed in my mind, and now I can't think away.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Like with them, I like them being together more as a unit rather than, because like I've said, I feel like Trick Williams, I feel like he would flounder like on the main roster. I feel like they wouldn't know what to do with him. And, Carmelo Hayes, in a sense, kind of. I mean, I think he'd be more successful than Trick Williams, this, on a track record that he has in NXT. But yeah, just gotta wait and see though. Never say never. And here in NXT.
Absolutely. Well, let's go for our last few comments and then we'll wrap the stream up today. But I want to say a big thank you to everyone that's been watching. Make sure to hit the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe to the channel as well, especially if you're new here as well. Bear back on it saying Dragunov for the winner is the prediction there at CD. We're talking about Wesley potentially going for the NXT Championship earlier on. So, as a fun fact, Wesley has beaten Carmelo Hayes to retain the North American Championship. So, that's a way to start the program. Wesley has got the W over Carmelo Hayes in the past. CD also going to say that I miss NXT pay-per-views being the night before a main roster pay-per-view. I can understand why people also would like that as well. Also, Tennessee doesn't watch Collision. Fair play. No, it's not for everybody. I understand that. So with a question here regarding Judgment Day, where do we see the Judgment Day storyline going? He thought War Games, but it doesn't think NXT does that anymore. No, they don't. They do it on the main roster. But we talked earlier on about the idea if NXT was involved in Survivor Series. Judgment Day at the moment are ending up everywhere. Do you reckon that they could be a likely destination should there be a War Games this year? Because the Bloodline, well, I mean, they've crumbled at this point. There's not enough members. So it feels for me, Judgment Day would be the group that would be inside that cage wherever it's going to take place.
Yeah, I definitely agree with about the Judgment Day being part of like like a war game scenario. Like I don't know, yeah, because they can't really do the bloodline stuff because that's crumbled. Yeah, so Judgment Day is like really one of the factions that really being dominant right now, and and also hearing some, like rumors like that because there could be getting another member added into the Judgment Day, like a JD McDonough. I've been hearing rumors about that. And like getting rid of because definitely I could see the seeds getting planted with Damian Priest, doing a babyface turn someday. I feel like they're doing like a slow burn with that. It's going to take a while before that happens. But fans have been cheering Damian Priest quite a bit. And the Judgment Day, they're really over faction, but I feel like they're get like a little overshadowed by everything that's going on with the Bloodline storyline. But yeah.
Interesting. The thing is, for me, I've got to say that they're on a lot of shows right now, and obviously they are teased as the most. It feels like now the most dominant faction. It feels like they come out and said they
like
run
Rhea
WWE.
said, they run the WWE. Yeah,
pretty much. That's what they're saying now. And obviously, but at the same time as we spoke earlier in the video, there were teasers of cracks all over the place. But even with Rhea and Dom, because Rhea accepts every match on Dom's behalf, there's going to be a time that Dom is going to follow her lead and is going to lose, and he's going to be upset. Could you imagine, poor Dom and Rhea, the heartache happening? I mean, I suppose it would be even worse for Dom if Rhea was the one to break his heart. It feels like the more likely scenario of those two, to be fair. But at the same time, like obviously you mentioned it with Finn and with Damien, there's been teasers with that as well. So there's all different ways it can go with the Judgment Day. They feel like they've been quite strong in recent weeks. We've even seen suggestions in the chat earlier on of them holding lots of gold at the moment. That's certainly potential as well. Really don't know where it goes at the moment with the Judgment Day, but one thing's for sure, they're on our screens a lot and they do seem to be fairly dominant with everything they're doing, and it's going to be interesting to see where it will lead to. But one thing we did predict earlier in the stream, in case you missed it, we did have Dirty Dominik Mysterio retaining the North American Championship on this show. CD says, I think Trick Williams will be more successful on the main roster than Carmelo Hayes. That's a fair opinion there from CD. And he also asked, do we see Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams being future NXT Tag Team Champions? For me, I'm going to say no, purely because of the fact they've had the meeting with Bobby Lashley. And if there was a breakup, then probably not. But I would say more likely they would be going from on a main roster perspective than an NXT. But that's just my feeling. What do you feel, Justin?
Yeah, I don't feel like they're going to be going for like the NXT Tag Team Championships. Like I feel like they kind of have like bigger fish to fry. I feel like the more the main roster, more the tag team titles on the main roster would make more sense. But then again, I don't see KO and Sami Zayn losing those titles for a little bit. I don't see a breakup happening for a while with KO and Sami Zayn. But I have been hearing rumors about that, and having been hearing rumors about DIY returning, which that hasn't even happened yet, But I've been hearing rumors about that. But just gotta see what happens though.
We will indeed. Obviously, KO has picked up an injury, a legitimate injury. Obviously, not just a storyline one on Raw this week. So we'll see what that leads to. I think that would determine the answer to CD's question here. Like you said, I don't see Sammy and KO losing those titles for a while either. It depends if they have to relinquish them or not. But I would say if they had to relinquish them, yeah, you could do that at SummerSlam. But at the same time, right now, Dom has the North American Championship. Do they need to do the tag team titles, especially when Damien has, he's senior Money in the Bank?
Yeah, I don't think they need to do the tag team titles. Like I said, I feel like I would rather love to see Finn win the world championship off of Seth Rollins, and I feel like also, this is kind of a sidebar here, but I feel like that the tag team titles should get a new design eventually.
Yes.
Coming up in the future here. I've been hearing rumors about them getting a new design. Maybe like after SummerSlam or something. But they definitely need a new design because these M&M looking title belts they need to go away.
I agree. I do enjoy an M&M, to be fair, as well, though. But that's another story. But two more comments, and we'll wrap things up here today. CD saying that I can see Finn Balor turning babyface because Finn Balor will cash in on. Damien Priest will cash in on Finn Balor at SummerSlam, and Finn would have another 24-hour title reign, and then wins the title back on the reign. I wouldn't be surprised if he says 24-hour. I wouldn't be surprised if it's on the same night. But yeah, with Judgment Day right now, anything is possible. But yeah, interesting thoughts from CD. And our last question, which is actually an AEW question, taboo on an NXT stream, Eric, but fair play to you, bold to put it in there. Do you think Adam Cole and MJF will win the AEW tag team titles on Saturday against FTR? I'm going to go with a simple no.
No, they don't. I see MJF turning on Adam Cole at the show on Saturday, but I would love to see them win, but because they have been doing amazing stuff, these backstage segments that they've been doing and like all these video packages that they've been doing together have been amazing. But I'm gonna say no, that they don't win. And maybe MJF gets ready to turn on Adam Cole, but Adam Cole he sees it coming, or maybe Adam Cole does the turning on MJF. It could work both ways.
It
But
can go
no,
any
they're not
way.
going to win.
I don't see him winning either. My quick prediction for you on that one. I think that Adam Cole gets a little bit hurt during the match. I think there'll be a spot where they need to go for the double clothesline. Adam Cole will not get in position in time. It will lead to defeat. Adam Cole probably be the one that will take the pinfall, and I can see MJF being upset after the match. Therefore, it builds to the breakdown. There's a reason I've not bought the Better Than You Bebe t-shirt. It's because unfortunately it's only lasting for a cup of coffee. But that's pretty much all of our thoughts there with AEW there, and also NXT's Great American Bash, giving our predictions for the show. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone in the chat for being involved here today. It's good to see all such great comments and questions as always. I want to say a big thank you to the person in the background, Justin, that's behind you, peeking his head around the door. We've seen him a couple of times there. Good to see him indeed. Hello to him there. And also a big hello as well. And also a big thank you to you, Justin. Also, Juggernaut097 doing fantastic content as always on YouTube. But we said there, predictions, reviews, a retro, you name it, he does it. He's done tier lists, he does watch alongs, he does pretty much, if you name it, Juggernaut, you could put it on a t-shirt at this point. Fantastic stuff. Let everyone know where they can go and find you.
Yeah, so you guys can go find me on my channel, Juggernaut097. I do a lot of content on there. I do watch alongs, I do reviews, I do predictions. I even do retro reviews. I do reactions, which I'm going to get into doing those more. I even do, like I said, tier lists. I do, you name it. I do it all. So definitely go check out my channel. And sometime I'm going to start adding to my channel. I'm going to start doing some football talk on my channel. I'm going to be doing it's called For the Kingdom podcast. It's going to be on my Juggernaut channel, but I'm just going to be adding like another, like implementing that into there. So definitely, if you like football, definitely go check out the For the Kingdom podcast on there. But yeah, definitely subscribe.
For the controversial Britishman that's on the other side there, would that be footballs in NFL?
Yes, NFL. Yes, football. Soccer. Yeah, not soccer. I mean, I do watch soccer a little bit. Like I watch Team USA, but like I'm not too familiar with it. Like all the rules and all that. But like American football, NFL. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Just to, if there were any Brits watching, just wanted to make sure that they would clarify that. But I'm sure it would have been there for the NFL. But of course, the new season not so far away, and another reason to go and check out Juggernaut's channel. Like I say, as soon as this video is finished, I will put his channel link as the pinned comment of this video. You can just click the link, hit that subscribe button, and start enjoying some fantastic content immediately. Of course, though, if you're you're new to this channel, then I need you to do 3 things. In fact, if you're actually regular on this channel as well, make sure to like the video, share with a friend as well. Like I said, the newbies, subscribe, and as soon as this video is finished, drop a comment in below as well. Let us know what you thought of the stream, anything we might have missed about, anything else you want to talk about. I look forward to interacting with you. But that's all from us, mate. Thank you to Justin. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to everyone that's watching on delay as well. And make sure to enjoy NXT, the Great American Bash. I'll be back with videos later in the week. And if you want content to check out in the meantime, there was a watch along from SummerSlam 1994, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart in the beautiful blue steel cage. I recorded this yesterday with NXT, live at Peacock on the WWE Network. Honestly, we had a fun time recording it, and make sure that you have a fun time listening. Take care of yourselves and each other. See you next time.